I, for one, was not expecting an updated version of the Mavic Mini barely a year after its release, but here we are, the DJI Mini 2. 4K video, raw photos, all new remote, 10-kilometer range, 31-minute flight time, OcuSync 2.0, better wind resistance, and plenty of other improvements over the original Mini. I've been flying the heck out of this little guy for just over a month now. There's lots to talk about, so let's get going. Side by side, the Mavic Mini and the DJI Mini 2 look almost identical. A quick glance and you may not notice anything different at all. If you look closer though, you'll find plenty of changes. Right off the bat, you see new orange tip propellers, the 4K marking on the camera, and the front LED light. On the back, there's a new USB-C port, as well as changes to the taillight and the battery compartment. As you begin to unfold it though, the changes are tangible. The front legs are much stronger and have very little flex compared to the Mini 1. The propellers not only have a different pitch, they're also quite a bit stiffer. Combine those improvements with the upgraded motors and you end up with a stronger, faster, quieter, and more wind-resistant drone. Something I definitely noticed from my very first flight. The DJI Mini 2 is not a design overhaul of the original, it's more of a refinement. It basically maintains the same size and shape as the original, and that means that all your Mini 1 accessories work just fine on the Mini 2. Things like ND filters, prop guards, propeller holders, and even batteries can be carried over to the Mini 2. Of course though, if you do use the Mini 1's batteries in the Mini 2, it will no longer be a sub 250 gram drone, so plan accordingly. I did several test flights using the Mini 1's batteries on the Mini 2 and I had no issues whatsoever. No hiccups at all, and flight time felt about the same. One thing to note though is the Mini 2's batteries do not work in the Mini 1. In fact, they just don't fit. Without its battery, the DJI Mini 2 weighs over 8 grams more than its predecessor, and it's probably safe to assume that much of this extra weight went into a stronger build and other improvements under the hood. Even though the bare Mini 2 is heavier, its takeoff weight has been reduced by about 10 grams due to its new lithium polymer batteries, which are quite a bit lighter than the Mini 1's lithium-ion batteries. These new batteries are slightly lower capacity, but improve the Mini 2's max flight time by an extra minute, bringing it up to 31 minutes. Now, I didn't do extensive flight time testing, but flight times felt on par with the original Mini.
Guess I should stop.
How's that controller, Jen?
Oh, I like this one. I like this controller much better.
I think one of my favorite bits with the DJI Mini 2 is this all-new controller. When the Mini 2 was first announced, I was all worried about the extra size and weight and how it would fit in my pack. But after using it, all those worries just went away. Even though it's quite a bit larger and heavier than the Mini 1's controller, I don't find the extra size or weight to be a problem. In fact, I don't even notice it. What I do notice though is the improved ergonomics, integrated cable, USB-C charging, the better build quality, and the extra long battery life.
I like where the phone is. Like I always worry about it on the bottom, and
Yeah.
Here I don't worry about it at all.
I love having my phone on the top of the remote. It eliminates the fiddly bottom clamps and messing with the antenna orientation, and it greatly improves the sight lines. The larger battery means less time spent charging and no worries about charging your device at the same time. This controller is also compatible with the Mavic Air 2, so if you own both drones, you only have to pack one controller. Of course, best of all, this controller brings OcuSync 2.0 and up to a 10-kilometer transmission range. Now, I'm never going to fly 10 kilometers away, but OcuSync is more than that. It's a much more robust system than the Mini 1's enhanced Wi-Fi, and that means less interference and signal dropouts, and I'm definitely all for that. Okay, so how does this thing fly? Well, for my very first flight, this drone felt tangibly better than the original Mini. It was noticeably quicker, more precise, more responsive, and definitely quieter. With OcuSync 2.0, I felt a lot more confident to fly further away without worrying about a lost connection. Of course, my boosted confidence got me in trouble a couple of times though, because I was so immersed in the experience, I cut it way too close with battery life and, well,
I went down.
Look at you, you better talk to Paul.
I know. We found it, girlie. We found it.
Yay!
maybe that's a video for another day. The ability to handle strong wind was a bit of an issue with the Mavic Mini, and that has been improved with the Mini 2. The Mini 1's wind rating is scale 4, while the Mini 2 is scale 5 or 37.8 kilometers an hour. And funny enough, the very first time putting out both drones in the same conditions, the Mini 1 immediately complained about the wind, while the Mini 2 didn't. Through all my testing with the Mini 2, I did not have a single wind warning. Not one. I'm sure I will eventually get one, but I think the takeaway here is that it is happening quite a bit less with the Mini 2. Also improved on the Mini 2 is connection reliability. Anyone currently flying a Mavic Mini has probably experienced a connection drop or signal interference at some point. I certainly have had my share of connection drops with the Mini 1, and I'm not one to fly very far away. The Mini 2, however, felt different right from the start. I was more confident to push it out further and not worry about losing connection. Eventually I worked up to about 2 kilometers away and the connection was rock solid. I also tried some real world scenarios such as dipping into a river valley from above, flying in heavily treed areas and urban areas, and again the Mini 2 reliably stayed connected. Now, I didn't do exhaustive range or reliability testing, but there is no question transmission reliability has been improved on the Mini 2. For me, one of the most important aspects of a drone's performance is that of its camera. The DJI Mini 2 shoots 4K video, raw photos, and adds a few other photography features like digital zoom, panoramas, and auto exposure bracketing. Fundamentally though, it is still the same camera system as the original Mini, a 12 megapixel 1/2.3 inch CMOS sensor coupled with a 35mm f2.8 lens. So as you might expect, pictures and video look almost identical to the Mini 1. The DJI Mini 2 shoots 4K video at a maximum video bitrate of 100 megabits per second compared to the Mini 1's 2.7K video and 40 megabits per second bitrate. The higher video bitrate is definitely a welcome improvement as video bitrate has a direct impact on video quality. Now I have a couple of clips here from both the Mini 1 and Mini 2. They were shot minutes apart on the same day. Both drones are using the same manual exposure and manual white balance settings, and I haven't done any post-processing to the footage. Of course though, the Mini 1's video was upscaled to 4K from 2.7K to match with the Mini 2's resolution. To my eyes, it looks pretty close. I feel like I'm seeing more detail in the Mini 2's footage, but it is hard to tell. My wife Jen and I both looked at the footage on the computer and there was really no clear winner. Footage from both drones looks good, and other than resolution, it was tough to tell them apart. I do find the colors on the Mini 2 look more accurate though, while the Mini 1 tends to have a bit of a magenta color bias. But other than that, the overall quality looks very, very similar. Looking at some JPEG images, once again things appear almost identical. To my eyes, there is no difference in quality. Just like the video footage though, I do find the Mini 2 is producing more accurate colors, and really that is about the only difference I'm seeing between the two drones. The Mini 2 has the ability to shoot raw photos in the digital negative or DNG format, which is a lossless open standard developed by Adobe. Raw photos are great because they contain unprocessed and uncompressed sensor data, and that gives us more latitude to make adjustments and corrections in post without sacrificing quality. Comparing a RAW and JPEG image of the same shot, you can see there is a lot of image processing being done to produce a finished JPEG. Side by side, you can see the JPEG image has had many corrections, including lens distortion, color, contrast, and sharpening. The Mini 1 and Mini 2 produce very sharp, contrasty JPEG images, and that's not going to be to everyone's taste. If you're someone who takes more pictures than video with your drone, I'm sure you will appreciate being able to process images to your tastes, not DJI's. Now DJI does say that camera performance has been improved on the Mini 2, but they don't really offer up any specific details. Me personally, I'm not seeing much of a difference other than the improved color accuracy. While it would have been nice to see better dynamic range or low light performance, those improvements are simply not there. Regardless though, the DJI Mini 2 is a very capable video and still shooter, and if you love the video and image quality from the Mini 1, you will be just as happy with this new Mini. The last thing I want to address is some gimbal issues that I experienced while testing. I noticed that when the gimbal is pointed straight down at 90 degrees, the Mini moves very slowly. As you start to bring that gimbal back up, though, the speed does improve. Also, the gimbal tends to kick up a bit, especially in sport mode. I believe the Mini one had a similar issue, so I feel this is more of a design limitation rather than a defect. Neither of these issues affected my day-to-day shooting. They were just something I noted and wanted to pass along. So to wrap this one up, yeah, there is just a lot to love about the new DJI Mini 2. I think for anyone wanting to get their first drone, it's a no-brainer. The Mini 2 is a great place to start. It's a compact, well-built drone with photography and video capabilities rivaling the much larger and much more expensive drones. You simply could not go wrong with this one. For those folks who already have a Mavic Mini and are thinking of upgrading, it gets a bit murkier. There are definitely a lot of year-over-year improvements that create a compelling case for an upgrade. However, if camera performance is the main driver to consider moving up to the Mini 2, I'm not sure it's worth the leap. You may want to hang on and see what DJI does with the Mini next year. And speaking of next year, I can't help but to wonder where DJI is going with the Mini lineup. Is this going to be the drone that DJI upgrades year after year, making incremental improvements? Features like the front LED light seem more like a placeholder than a permanent fixture to me. Sure, it adds some extra visibility at night, but maybe next year DJI replaces it with a collision avoidance sensor and suddenly the Mini 3 has active track or spotlight. Regardless though, whatever you have, a Spark, a Mini 2, a Mavic Air, they are all fantastic, capable drones and you can create amazing stuff with any of them. So what are you waiting for? Charge up those batteries, get out there and shoot some awesome stuff. And that's it for this one, guys. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up because that helps me out. And as always, thank you so much for watching. And yep, you guessed it, I will see you in the next one. Bye.